All right, let's start with some breaking inputs that have come in where 4 days after the dastardly attack in Pulwama, it is being said that 4 army personnel, including a major, are critically injured in an exchange of fire in Pulwama's Pinglan area. Now, amongst the injured is said to be a head constable and 2 sepoys, and all 4 men have been moved to the army hospital. Now, there are also reports of a civilian being injured as a part of the operations. Now, the encounter in the Pinglan area started this morning after the forces launched a cordon and search operation after getting a tip-off about the presence of terrorists in the area. All right, now for more on this, we are joined in by my colleague Ishan Vani, who's presently in Srinagar and is tracking all the developments very closely for us. Good morning to you, Ishan. What is the latest on the story?
Good morning, Saleh. There has been a fresh exchange of gunfire that has been reported just a couple of minutes back. Sources indicate that there was a brief exchange of fire during the night, and later on they were unable to trace these militants who were hiding inside a residential house. Now, a couple of minutes back, there has been a fresh exchange of fire. Remember, 4 army jawans, including a major rank officer, have been critically injured in the initial exchange of gunfire. They have been shifted to 92 Base Army Hospital for treatment, but sources say all of them are critical. And apart from that, a civilian has also suffered injuries in this particular attack. Remember, these forces had zeroed in on that particular location after receiving a tip of about the presence of these militants. Sources indicate that these militants could be from Jaish-e-Mohammed. Remember, this particular village is at least 15 kilometers away from the spot where we saw a deadly attack taking place 2 days back in Pulwama district, and the forces are still surrounding the particular village. They are being assisted by CRPF, Jammu and Kashmir Police, and Army is there at the spot and are conducting this particular operation. We have to wait and watch for the next some time, because this is said that the 4 of the soldiers are still in a critical condition at the hospital, which is run by the army.
All right, do continue to stay on with us, Ishan. I'm told that we're also joined in by Brigadier Mahalingam, who's joining us over the phone line. Good morning to you, Brigadier. Now, this is an encounter that has broken out just days after the dastardly terror attack in Pulwama, pretty much in the same area. So, your thoughts on this?
See, first of all, there is an encounter because there are militants hold up in that particular area. This particular operation must have been launched based on specific information about the presence of militants. Having said that, it is very unfortunate that as far as India is concerned, we have lost so many soldiers, and it is going to very directly affect the families of these soldiers. Now, the point is that the Ghazi and others who are supposed to have masterminded and prepared the bomb and executed the car bomb attack, these people must be around that places, and India will have no option but to track them down and bring them to justice, because as you are aware, the entire country is totally fed up with Pakistan and its action, and the anger is quite visible. And therefore, the government will have no option now, firstly, to take action to apprehend these people and bring them back to sort of give them due punishment.
Absolutely.
And secondly, the government will also have no option but to take action against the Pakistan's military and the Pakistan's ISI, because these are the organizations which have sponsored this attack, and this entire thing has happened because of that. If government does not act, it will be a political suicide through the present government, say especially at a time when the elections are about to happen in a couple of months' time.
Absolutely. I think those are very 2 significant points that you've raised here, Brigadier. Do continue to stay on with us, but let me go back to my colleague Ishan Vani, who's presently in Srinagar. Ishan, the fact of the matter is, at the time when the Pulwama terror attack took place, the investigations revealed that there were 2 individuals, or at least there were 2 names that had been given out. One was of Rashid Ghazi and another of Kamran. Now, do we know anything at all, whether they've been traced? What is the how far have the investigation agencies gone in nabbing them? And is this encounter something that is based on tracking those 2 individuals, the masterminds of the Pulwama attack?
Well, I've been speaking to my sources on the ground. They have been saying that this particular operation has a go-ahead from the center, and they have been told to do the investigation on the war food basis. Exactly, that's what the sources told us yesterday also, that several agencies are right now tracking these people down. They are looking for somebody who could have mastered the chemical making of explosives, someone who is an expert in making bombs. So forces have clearly said that the involvement in the particular attack has been from someone who is an expert of making IEDs. Remember, Abdul Rashid Ghazi's announcement was made by Jaish themselves, saying that they are there to take the revenge of their two nephews of Maulana Masood Azhar, and he was specifically sent out to carry these particular attacks. Remember, now the parallels are being drawn from the fact that car-based bomb attacks have been taking place in Afghanistan, and Abdul Rashid Ghazi is somebody who has come from Afghanistan, who has fought with the US forces in Afghanistan. They in an official statement by the Jaish, they had claimed that he was an Afghan war veteran who had come to Kashmir Valley for these particular purposes. Remember, sources are also indicating in the agencies that he is someone who can make IEDs, and the local RDX could have been used to prepare this particular attack, and the intensity and the entire planning could be from Abdul Rashid Ghazi and a commander called Kamran. Both are the residents of Pakistan.
Absolutely indeed. Ishan and also Brigadier Mahalingam do continue to stay on with us. Meanwhile, I'm told that we're also joined in by our principal diplomatic correspondent, Siddhant Sibil, who is joining us from New Delhi. Siddhant, the fact of the matter is there is an encounter that's been underway through the night, and this has come just 4 days after the deadly attacks in Pulwama. Now, the Indian government has taken several diplomatic and also financial steps to try and ensure that Pakistan is brought to book. But here we see that there is another encounter in which 4 of our army men are said to be critically injured.
Well, of course, the week is starting on a very bad note with this encounter in Pulwama. The government is and will be taking note of it. We know that the pressure on Pakistan is growing with each passing day. Yesterday, we saw Iran and Afghanistan also lashing out at Islamabad. Last week, we saw after that terrible tragedy, the worst terror attack in India in last 2 decades. The envoys, the foreign envoys in Delhi, they were briefed, envoys from
Right, I think there's a bit of an issue
of the United Nations Security Council. So clearly, pressure will be there on Islamabad this week as well.
Right. Absolutely, indeed, Siddhant. We'll try fix the line with you. There was a bit of disturbance there. But meanwhile, Brigadier Mahalingam, if I can bring you in on this. The fact of the matter is, ever since the Pulwama attack, India has announced a slew of measures, but is it having any effect on Pakistan? Because it has not changed its tune. And there is very little in terms of how Pakistan seems to be responding after the Pulwama terror attack.
It is a few things which we must understand. India had no option but to take action against Pakistan, especially in the form of diplomatic issues. But the problem that sort of lingers on is Pakistan has the support of Beijing. Beijing, having invested $60-odd billion in CPEC, cannot, in fact, weaken the Pakistan or get Pakistan into trouble. The second aspect is the U.S. As far as U.S. is concerned, the President Trump has made up his mind that the troops in Afghan, especially the U.S. troops in Afghanistan, will have to be withdrawn. Therefore, he has sought the assistance of Pakistan to get the Taliban to the negotiating table. As a result, the Pakistan government today, in spite of the fact that it has been having a very serious economic problem, and it has been hounded by FATF, Financial Action Task Force, the Pakistan government seems to be emboldened, and as a result, today they have carried out this attack, and they had the temerity to send militants and IED experts from across the border. Therefore, as far as the India's action is concerned, these actions will continue. The present government, with the elections looming large in a very couple of months from now, cannot take this entire thing lying down. It has got no other option, because if they do slacken up, it will be a political suicide, especially for Modi personally and to the present government in particular.
Absolutely. Let's focus on the encounter here at this point of time rather than the political implications of it. But Brigadier, you have raised an important point when you said that Pakistan has just not changed its tune and India will have to do something different. I'm also told that we are joined in by Lieutenant General Raj Qadian, who's joining us over the phone line. So, the fact of the matter is this is an encounter which has happened just 4 days after the deadly Pulwama attack. What can India do now in this situation?
No, the operation will continue. It was only normal for the security forces to intensify the operation further, to have the perpetrators, not only the man who's blown himself up, but they had to have a support team to nab them, including the explosive experts, Qazi Rasid or Kamran, who is still reportedly hiding somewhere in South Kashmir. So this operation, the casualties is very sad news. Our heart goes out to the families and the unit. But then you are fighting a proxy war launched by Pakistan. Operational casualties are something which has happened in the past, which will continue. But the problem, to resolve the problem, the solution doesn't lie in Kashmir. It lies in Pakistan, and there also, not in Islamabad, but in Rawalpindi, which is their army headquarters. Unless we are able to tame and deter the Pakistan army, I'm afraid this violence, as Brigadier Mahalingam says, with the election looming over our heads, this is going to further increase, because Pakistan wants to influence the outcome of the election. Imran Khan openly said the other day, appealing to one of the religious minority communities in India, that as long as BJP is in power, relations with Pakistan will not improve, thereby clearly hinting that they should not come back in power. With that, interference by a neighboring prime minister into the internal affairs of a neighbor is something very illogical and wrong. And Pakistan, you can expect anything. Pakistan, as Mahalingam said, has got added leverage with the Americans talking to the Taliban and Pakistan playing a key role, but that's a larger issue. We have to take action against Pakistan. We are taking economic, diplomatic, but unless we take military action, which is the only action which makes an impact, I think that the government, I'm sure, is planning for it. It must be done.
Absolutely, indeed. Do continue to stay on with us, General Raj Qadian. Let me bring in my colleague Ishan Vani. Ishan, we are given to understand that the firing at this point of time has stopped. All right, I'll try get my colleague Ishan in just a bit. Meanwhile, I am told that we are joined over the phone line by General Shankar Roy Chaudhary, who is the former Chief of Army Staff of the Indian Army. So let me begin by asking you this. This is an attack that has taken place just 4 days after the deadly terror attack. Was something like this expected? Because we are given to understand that there are at least 4 of our army men who have been critically injured as a part of this encounter.
Well, what I am getting from the media news, mind you, this is the media news, this is not official at all. From the media news, what I'm getting is the person that got trapped in that house is this chap, Abdul Ghazi, the explosive maker from Pakistan, imported to make these shaped charge IEDs in Kashmir, Indian Kashmir. Is that right?
So we can't confirm that at this point of time because
we
have
our
correspondent there. So the fact of the matter is nothing officially has been said by the army. What's been said is that there are persons of interest who are being looked at in this search and cordon operation.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think people are looking for this imported bomb maker from Pakistan who has been brought into India by Masood Azhar to make explosive devices, because the Indian Army has killed 2 of his nephews. So this is a personal war, if you like, of Masood of the Jaish-e-Mohammed against India. And India is prepared to fight that war. And if you go looking for the enemy, you kill the enemy, you do suffer some casualties. So this is an ongoing battle. We are at war here. It's a war situation there, and this will go on.
So but there has to be some long-term solution.
We will have our casualties, but we will kill them. We will kill every last one of them who have entered India.
No, absolutely, but there has to be some long-term solution in making Pakistan change its tune. The fact of the matter is attacks of this nature have continued to happen over the years. It was Pulwama recently, there was the Uri attack, there was Nagrota, there was Pathankot air-based attack, and this list is just continuing to pile up. So what can India possibly do to make Pakistan change its tune?
I think we've got to accept that. Pakistan will not change, and India must keep on punishing Pakistan where it hurts. That is inside Pakistan. Like Pakistan is attempting to punish India inside India, India must continue punishing Pakistan inside Pakistan. I don't think we are doing enough of that. Pakistan must be punished inside Pakistan. And when I say Pakistan, please, I want to make it clear, it is the Pakistan Army and the Pakistan ISI I am specifically referring to. They are the root of the evil and the heart of the evil, and they shall be punished inside Pakistan where they are.
Absolutely, indeed. And I think Brigadier Mahalingam a little while back was raising an important point. He said that, look, Pakistan in some ways has succeeded in terms of what it wanted to happen in Afghanistan, where the Americans are negotiating with the Taliban. This, in some ways, has increased Pakistan's stature in that complex situation that is unfolding in Afghanistan. Do you think that is what has emboldened Pakistan to carry out attacks of this nature in the Kashmir Valley?
Kashmir and India are not Afghanistan and America. We are fighting on our own homeland, and we will kill anybody who tries to dismember any part of our homeland. Afghanistan is a case apart. Afghanistan has no relationship with Kashmir.
No, my point was, has Pakistan got emboldened because it was able to get its way in Afghanistan? My question was, has Pakistan got emboldened because it was able to get its way in Afghanistan to try something similar now in India?
Look, Pakistan may have got emboldened. We are not concerned with that. All we are concerned with is any attack on India shall be met by retaliatory action in Pakistan, preferably inside Pakistan against the Pakistan Army. And I think that sort of a response is overdue from the Indian side.
All right. Thank you very much indeed, General Shankar Roy Chaudhary, for joining us and giving us your insights. But let me bring in my colleague Ishan Vani, who's presently in Srinagar. Ishan, according to reports that are coming in, preliminary reports we are given to understand that the firing at the start of the encounter has stopped and the forces are now carrying out combing operations. What is the latest from the ground there?
Well, just a couple of minutes back, I spoke to someone who was at the ground. He said that a fresh exchange of gunfire had resumed. There was a brief lull after that particular exchange where at least 4 army jawans have been injured. Now, what we are learning from our sources is that the fresh firing has resumed. There's an intense exchange of gunfire going on from both the sides. We cannot confirm that who are the people who are inside that particular place where this encounter is going. Our sources indicate that this could be a Jaish-e-Mohammed militant who are inside that particular location. But one has to wait and watch for the official confirmation to come that who is the group behind this particular thing, and basically where was there anybody from that particular militants who were part of that particular deadly attack. But remember again, this particular place is just some kilometers, at least 15 kilometers away from the place where this particular deadly attack took place. Absolutely indeed. And just to stress on a certain fact, there are reports that are saying that Rashid Ghazi could be one of those individuals who's holed up at the site of the encounter. Can we confirm that at this point of time? Well, we don't know who is inside because security forces may have a tip of about certain militants, but they officially don't even know that who are the people inside. Once the gun battle gets over and the bodies are retrieved, it's only then when the army says that who are the people inside. There is no specific input about a particular person or a particular militant, but what we know so far is that they had input about 2 militants being around that village, and later on a cordon was laid, and there was a brief exchange of gunfire during the night, and now there is a fresh exchange of fire that is going on at this point as we speak. All right, do continue to stay on with us, Ishan. Meanwhile, let me bring in Brigadier Mahalingam. Sir, the fact of the matter is this is an encounter that's been going on for quite a few hours now. At this point of time, we do not even know as to how many members, how many of these terrorists could be holed up in this area. But my question to you is a larger question. You know, India wants to put an end to this kind of bloodletting that is happening in the Kashmir Valley. What do you think the Indian government should actually do to ensure that, you know,
terrorists of this nature, especially Rashid Ghazi, someone who's come from across the border, who is an IED specialist, he should not have been allowed to come in.
See, there's no question of allowing Ghazi to enter Pakistan. I mean, he enters the Indian territory. It is never anything of that sort happens. We will have to understand the terrain there, as also the length of the border that India, between India and Pakistan. It is precisely because of the difficulties and the gaps that are available for the militants to get across that these people are coming across. You can see, compare this particular incident with what is happening across the Durand line in Afghanistan.
Right.
In Afghanistan, since there are not very many troops along the border, you see an absolute free movement from across the border. Having said that, you had wanted to know that what should we do to completely stop this bloodletting. This bloodletting will have to stop, and perhaps the government of India by now would have tasked all the services, especially like the Army, Navy, Air Force, as also the intelligence agencies to work out a plan and provide options for them. The options will have to be, couple of them will have to be borne in mind. One, it has to economically target Pakistan. That is one. The second thing is the Pakistan's military will have to be projected in a bad light to the people of Pakistan. That is very, very important, because that such a situation was created after 1971 war, and ever since then Pakistan's military has risen up, and today there is a need to do that. Thirdly, the operations or the hurting of Pakistan will have to be done inside Pakistan's territory, and we cannot afford to have any more such targets on the one side. For this, I must appeal to the political parties within India to unite. We will have to have this thing taken. It is going to cost money, it is going to cost lives, but then we have to do this. Until and unless we do this and engage with Pakistan in a decisive manner, we will continue to bleed in India.
Absolutely, indeed. I think that is a significant point that you've raised, that this is a long drawn-out battle that India will have to fight. Remember, it was on the 14th of February that the deadly attack in Pulwama took place, and now this is an encounter on the 18th, just 4 days later, and we are given to understand that at least 4 or perhaps 5 of our army men are said to be critically wounded in this gun battle that has suddenly erupted in an area that is said to be just 14 kilometers away from where the deadly terror attack took place, in which 40 of our CRPF jawans lost their lives. Brigadier Mahalingam, if I can come to you on this, the fact of the matter is this is not something new. This is something that India has been dealing with, and Pakistan also has got a name. It's called the doctrine of a war with 1,000 cuts that it wants to inflict on India. But keeping the larger picture in view, the fact of the matter is attacks of this nature must stop. Now, India has tried to isolate Pakistan diplomatically. India has also resorted to trying to stifle Pakistan economically, but none of that seems to be working, because Pakistan seems to have some important and rich friends. It's got the backing of China, and only yesterday we saw the Saudi Crown Prince announcing a $20 billion worth of investment deal there. How does India respond to all of this?
See, it is in fact we have to understand, and certain realities will have to be accepted. One is the Saudi Arabia is involved in spreading the Wahhabism in the entire South Asia.
Absolutely.
That is one thing which we need to understand. And secondly, Saudi Arabia has a problem with Iran, and Sistan Baluchistan province of Iran being a neighbor to Pakistan, perhaps the Saudi Arabians are attempting to make use of Pakistan to keep on needling the Iranians at that particular area. The second thing we have to understand is United States. Trump is sort of unwilling to accept, keeping their forces beyond another maybe 6 months or so. In fact, the American ambassador Khalil Saad came into Afghanistan with a specific task of pulling out the troops by a certain date. And the entire issue is because of the elections, American elections, which is coming in 2020. The third issue is as far as China is concerned. China realizes the problem that is there in Pakistan. There must be no doubt in that. But however, having invested almost around $60 billion, it cannot quit Pakistan at any one time. If it has got to complete its the projects there, it needs the Pakistani cooperation. And it is also highly worried about the Xinjiang province, where these militants, especially these militant leaders like Hafiz Saeed and the Jaish-e-Mohammed will influence terrorists there. And therefore, as far as China is concerned, China is playing it by the ear. And it will only respond to India's request after once their projects are over, and then their returns, they are quite hopefully, they are sure that they will get their money back. Having said that, the entire area is sort of the neighboring areas of Pakistan is in a terrible shape. You can understand and you can see what's happening in Afghanistan. And Pakistan is hoping to rule Afghanistan through its proxy, the Taliban. That must be clearly understood, and I have no doubt in my mind that is the ultimate thing which Pakistan wants.
All right.
Therefore, in view of the geopolitical situation that is there, India will have to take these things into consideration, and India will have to act in Pakistan.
I think that is a significant point there. Do continue to stay on with us, Brigadier. Let me get in my colleague Ishan Vani, who's tracking the developments of the encounter as they unfold. Ishan, the details that are trickling in, like you just told us that there is fresh gunfire that has started just some time back. Do we know as to how many of these terrorists are holed up in that area? Is it just two of those individuals? Is it Rashid Ghazi and Kamran, or are these some different bunch of individuals who may have aided and abetted the terrorist Adil Ahmed Dar on the 14th of February?
Well, police have received information about at least two militants being present at that place, but there could be more, there could be less, as they get information through their sources also when they corner them. But image will be clear when the operation is concluded that to how many militants are hiding at that particular place. Remember, this place again is not far from the Pulwama attack site, so it may be that Abu Rashid Ghazi may be there because already in the month of December, when he infiltrated in the Indian side, there were reports that he's residing somewhere in Pulwama, and forces had launched a manhunt on a massive scale to track him down because he was someone who could have done damage, and it's visible through that particular CRPF attack. So they have been trying to tap him down, including one more who has been now identified as Kamran. He could also be in that particular place, but one will be sure when the bodies are retrieved and police confirms their presence. But sources are also indicating that they could also be there, given the fact that it's not far from that place where this particular attack has taken place. At the same time, when this attack took place, the sources had already said that the car which was rammed into that particular CRPF vehicle had come from a short distance and not from a far-off area, because it would have been possible to carry out this attack from a short distance, given the fact that the convoys move through a specific time and that particular day. Remember, we already reported that he had recceived the area thrice on 2nd, 5th, and then 8th, and he was planning to carry out an attack on February 9th. But given the fact that the highway was closed and there was no convoy movement on the highway, he had to cancel that particular plan. That's what the sources had indicated earlier also. Now, we'll have to wait and watch at how many actually militants are present at that particular place. But from the looks that 4 jawans have been injured in this particular attack, and that too critically, it seems that someone who's an expert, because we don't see army taking such casualty in numbers when the local militants are trapped. So this could indicate that there may have been someone who's an expert who knows how to go through the things, and because it has been at the night time, it's difficult to carry out, the army having any casualty numbers. We have seen in the past month or so that operations have been taking place during the night, and we haven't seen army taking so much casualty. But this time around, 4 jawans critically injured, including a civilian also out, apart from 4 army jawans injured. So that indicates possibly towards someone who is from Jaish and who is very deadly in, this modern combat thing.
Absolutely, indeed. That will continue to come back to you. Ishan, do continue to stay on with us. Meanwhile, Brigadier Mahalingam, who's still with us on the phone line. Sir, the manner in which this recent terror attack was carried out, the strategy was completely different. There was a car that was laden with explosives that was used to ram into this convoy of the CRPF. Now, this is said to be a different method that's been adopted by the terrorists to target our security forces. How concerned are you with this new strategy that these terrorists seem to have latched upon? Because earlier it was just these gun battles that they had resorted to, but here it is an IED, an improvised explosive device that was used laden in a car to ram into a CRPF vehicle that has resulted in so many casualties. Do you think this is a strategy that the terrorists will employ more in the near future?
Hello.
Brigadier Mahalingam, if you could hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes, my question was, the recent attack in Pulwama resorted to a new strategy by the terrorists where they used a car laden with explosives to ram into a CRPF bus that was transporting the jawans in a convoy. Do you think that these terrorists will resort to this strategy more often in the near future?
No, the point is that this is not the first time that this car bomb attack is taking place in this valley. Earlier, we had one in 2000 at the Army's the camp there, and second thing, it happened in the Legislative Assembly. Having said that, this car bomb attack has primarily been used by the Pakistanis to cause more casualties, and secondly, the checks on the road by the road opening parties were intense, and they were worried that this they will not be able to succeed.
Right.
The point is that it is quite possible for the Pakistanis may be planning for such car bomb attacks not just in Srinagar but also in the interior. Therefore, the security agencies will have to now work very hard to sort of find out as to where all the ammunition or explosives are being received, sold, brought, and they will have to take action to sort of unearth anything that is happening not just in the valley but also in the other parts of India. This is a serious matter, and we need to be concerned about that.
All right, Brigadier Mahalingam, thank you very much indeed for joining us on this broadcast and getting all your inputs. Meanwhile, I'm told that we are also joined in by Brigadier Arun Sehgal, who's joining us over the phone line. Brigadier Sehgal, let me begin by asking you this. The fact of the matter is, it's just 4 days since the deadly attack in Pulwama, and now we have this encounter that is underway in an area that is very close to the area where the terror attack took place. Your opinion on this, sir?
Two things. One is we must take cognizance of the fact that there is a reorganization of the militant outfits taking place. They have got new directions. There is a new impetus being given to this drive. So we cannot take it as isolated incidents or the Jaish-e-Mohammed incident. It is a new strategy which is being employed by these people, which includes IED bombing, car attacks, and similar techniques. So there is I see a clear shift in the strategy of the militancy in Kashmir, and it is time that we take cognizance of. And A, B, we have to upgrade our intelligence measures and to ensure that we get requisite information. And third is a greater degree of coordination between all the services we are taking part, that is the military, the CRPF, paramilitary forces, and the police. It requires a much greater degree of coordination, high degree of intelligence, and a sit back and try to relook at what is the new strategy that is emerging. Dealing with day-to-day situation is one thing, but for good response, we need to sit back and relook and critically analyze the new strategy that is being employed.
I think that's a significant point that you've raised there, to relook and analyze and assess the strategy that we have employed so far in dealing with this terrorist. Meanwhile, I'm told that we are also joined in by Brigadier R.B. Sharma, who is joining us over the phone line. Brigadier Sharma, the fact of the matter is this is an encounter that is still underway, that there was a bit of a lull that we had witnessed a little while back, but with the latest information that is coming in, fresh firing seems to have started. And this time around, in an encounter of this nature, the army is said to have taken a bit of a beating because there are about 4 of our army men who are said to be critically injured. This is not something that is usually witnessed in an encounter. Are we to believe that Pakistan is willing to train and pump in more of these very specialized terrorists that has resulted in this kind of a situation today in Pulwama?
I have followed the news very closely. And I am of the view that nothing much be talked about it at the moment because the encounter is still going on. Yet, as a feedback, I would say that there is a sea change in the strategy that Pakistan has adopted, and that the militancy is taking a new shape in the Kashmir Valley. And the biggest requirement at the moment is, if you want to encounter these moves effectively, that time should be taken by our security forces to sit down and coordinate their efforts, particularly for gathering correct kind of information.
Okay.
Because unless there is correct kind of information that is gathered, and structures are constructed along these areas of these encounters, because you have to know what people, what number, with what idea, and with what weapons, where are they? And until that coordinated effort is made for getting correct kind of information, our reactions will always end up in a greater damage to us as also to the innocent people. So, if there are any. So, my reaction at the moment is that we have to change our strategy and thinking in Jammu and Kashmir ad novo. And after that kind of a world reaction and the reaction in the country as a whole, if this thing is happening again, then there is much to think about it. And much that I will talk about it after this encounter is over and the net results are known.
Absolutely, indeed. That is an important point you've raised there, Brigadier Sharma. The encounter, we are given to understand, is still underway. These are deferred visuals, and the army has not, at this point of time, officially given out as to who it believes is holed up. But there is speculation that it could be this individual, Rashid Ghazi, who seems to have infiltrated from across the border sometime in December, and also his close aide Kamran, who's also said to have accompanied him at that point of time. But let me try get my colleague Ishan Wani back into this conversation. Ishan, this is an encounter that's been underway, we're given to understand, for several hours now. There was a bit of a lull in the fighting and it has resumed again. But what is the latest situation on the ground at this point of time?
Well, what we know from our sources is that, the exchange of fire is still going on. It would take for some time for the army to actually finish this particular operation, given the fact that the militants may have changed their location, and it may have been difficult for them to track them down during the night time. Because of the fact that sunrise is very late in Kashmir Valley, so forces must have not taken any, chances of, surrounding them with the night time, because already we know that 4 of their jawans suffered critical injuries. So the area was still under cordon, and fresh firing has been resumed a couple of hours back. And now what we learn from our sources is that the fresh exchange of fire, and then there's an intense exchange, not the regular thing that we're seeing what we're learning is that the intense exchange of gunfire is going on from both the sides. That also is a fact that the militants are laden with some good equipment and good number of weaponry, because on any encounter we see that the militants try to save their ammo so that they could long last for that particular operation. But here we're learning that the intense exchange of gunfire is going on. That also comes to the fact that they have heavy ammunition with them and may try to cause maximum harm. So that is why the army must be trying to neutralize them with precision and with every step that follows, because that is why we're not seeing that army is going on with all the force. They are trying to corner them and trying to see that what is their reaction and try to minimize their ammo so that they could go and finish this particular operation.
Absolutely, indeed. Do continue to stay on with us. Meanwhile, let me go back to Brigadier Arun Sehgal, who's still on the line with us. Brigadier, the fact of the matter is India has tried a multi-pronged approach. It has, of course, tried to stifle Pakistan economically. It recently announced that the most favoured nation status is now off the table. It is also... all right, I'm told that we have lost the line with Brigadier Arun Sehgal, but we still have Brigadier R.B. Sharma with us. So my question to you, of course, is it is a multi-pronged approach that India has adopted after the Pulwama attack. But is there more that needs to be done? Because this infiltrator, Rashid Ghazi, who is said to be an IED specialist, had managed to sneak in at the height of winter in the month of December. So should India tighten its border even more with Pakistan?
There is no doubt about it that further action is required, but the action at the moment that is to be taken is after a lot of planning and forethought. Because what I feel at this moment is that we do not have a pinpointed and actionable information available to the security forces about the number of people that are involved and with the kind of weapon inventory they are involved. But one thing is very clear, that they are fighting at the moment, as I could bear out from the news, that they are fighting for the last ditch battle in this encounter, and so they are not very careful about saving their ammunition, and they are fighting. At the same time, the security forces must go in after a thoughtful planning and neutralize them as early as possible. Thereafter, the Indian state has to take many other decisions to arrive to find a kind of integrated solution to it. I know we have taken some economic decisions. We have also upgraded our external relations and briefed our friends and others about the kind of injustice being done with us. And but this is not enough.
Absolutely.
Anyway, I understand that this has to be done for preparing ground for a bigger action. So I believe after these encounters are neutralized locally, then some bigger action must be taken along the line of control as also across the line of control.
I think that is a significant point that you raised there. But Brigadier, the fact of the matter is these are foot soldiers who were sent across. These terrorists were people who were told to execute something, and they were radicalized and they came here to carry out these attacks. But the real masterminds still continue to not just be there and find safe havens, but also thrive on Pakistani soil. What should India's long-term strategy be in dealing with individuals such as Masood Azhar, in dealing with individuals such as Hafiz Saeed, who not just thrive but have also found patronage by the Pakistani deep state there, because they could not exist unless they have the backing from Rawalpindi?
Right. We've been saying so, that Pakistan has been for a long time using these terrorists as instruments of their foreign policy. But things have now gone beyond. Besides using them as the instruments, now these instruments have become dominating on the state. The present Pakistan government, and particularly their Prime Minister, is too weak to control them.
All right.
Because the entire Pakistani military is dependent on the kind of actions they take. Their own, until unless these people are neutralized, and the Pakistan military is punished to the extent that they don't support these efforts.
All right.
The solution is not there.
Absolutely, indeed. Brigadier, do continue to stay on with us. Meanwhile, we are getting live visuals